Welcome to Nugget 310 with Steve and Dana Groman. We are about to complete our Montana Dinosaur Trail.
We'll have to do it again.
For sure. Our two stops today start with the Two Medicine Dinosaur Center. It is in Bynum. It is operated by the Museum of the Rockies, which is where we will be going in our next nugget. And this tiny operation has a few real fossils and presents mainly cast or reconstructions of the actual fossils held in Bozeman. And the one crazy thing about this is when we try to take pictures, it was hard because it was so cramped. We couldn't even get a lot of good pictures, especially of this big cast of this dinosaur. They did have this interesting fossil. Eurypterids were arthropods. Arthropods have an exoskeleton and jointed legs. Crabs, insects, and spiders are all arthropods. Species of the sea, scorpions, of the Silurian grew to be 10 feet long. It was a huge predator that had large claws for snagging its prey. And you know what's kind of gross is that people will say that, like lobster and shrimp, that they're insects, that they're bugs.
Right. This is a beautiful fossil, though. A lot of people claim that the trilobite is a bug.
Well, I tell people that they look like a roly-poly.
Yeah, they do look like that.
They look like horseshoe crabs, but some of them look just flat out like a roly-poly. They also had this articulated rib cage, and it said our newest exhibit in the gallery is an articulated rib cage from a hadrosaur of undetermined species. Well, we know all about that species.
We know about that species.
This specimen was recovered just past the Teton Buttes west of Choteau, Montana, which is where this general area is. It is very rare for us to recover bones that are fossilized in the same position that they occupied while the dinosaur was alive, and we are currently evaluating the significance of this fossil discovery. So that's the point of being articulated or disarticulated, whether they're just beat up and jumbled pieces versus intact.
Right. They could have gotten beat up and jumbled with maybe a flood.
I think so. Mm-hmm. Or buried quickly.
Or very quickly.
They did have this egg display, too, of different eggs from Egg Mountain, which we talked about in the last nugget. And both of these museums that we will be visiting today have displays of items from Egg Mountain. And then these dinosaur eggs from Mongolia and Argentina. And we know that a lot of eggs are found in Asia.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is it obviously verifies the rapid burial.
Why is that?
They would be rotted away, eaten away,
crushed,
dried away, crushed.
And like many museums, they had this area where they work on it. And this place was quite a disaster, don't you think?
Yeah, but it sure is interesting to watch people work on them.
Right. It's very detailed work.
Very
and
tedious.
Make you go cross-eyed if you worked on it too long. And they had this exhibit on these frills, and it said that the horned dinosaurs had skulls that extended back over their necks, called frills. There are two major types of ceratopsians, which have very different types of frills, such as the Styracosaurus had a very ornate frill with horns around the edge, where the Triceratops-like dinosaurs had frills that were longer but less ornate than those of those Styracosaurus. To the right is a portion of a frill from a Styracosaurus, and to the left is the center portion of the frill of a new Casmarine. They have all these crazy names, and I'm sorry I can't say them correctly.
The frilled dragon is still alive today when we had one for years.
Rhodey was beautiful, and everyone loved her. She was cool.
Awesome.
She didn't like mealworms, though, got to tell you.
No, she did not like mealworms.
She barfed up mealworms one time in the dash of the motorhome, and it was like, oh, thanks, Rhodey, that was gross. The second museum is the Old Trail Museum, and it doesn't just have fossils. It is located in Choteau, and it has a wide range of wildlife, Indian, pioneer, and dinosaur exhibits that are presented in various theme buildings. See the homemade bear traps and ask why Choteau is the bear trap capital of the world. They also had a prominent display for A.B. Guthrie, who is known as the Thoreau of the West. He was a prominent author in Montana. This is just a little bit of trivia and just showing the depth of this little museum. They had these buffalo teeth. I thought this was cute. It says, "You get a line and I'll get a pole." Some of you older people might know what this is referring to. They were talking about these river bottoms of the Cretaceous period were crawling with lots of critters. Lacking hard parts, these animals seldom fossilize. Nevertheless, we can find evidence of their activities in the form of burrows dug into ancient riverbeds and floodplains. By studying burrows of modern animals like the crayfish, we can recognize fossil crayfish burrows by their unique scaly texture. Well, I would say that a fossilized crayfish burrow would look like a nowadays crayfish burrow because...
The same thing? Imagine that. They must have read reproduce after your own kind. Somehow they knew that.
And then they had this femur, which is a thigh, from an American mastodon. And this plebiscine skull? Or seriously, where do they come up with these names? The original skull was from Bridger, Montana, 100 million years ago. This marine reptile that inhabited the season in central and eastern Montana. I don't think so. I thought this was really an interesting piece. It's called ossified tendons. When dinosaurs walked, they held their tails aloft to counterbalance the front half of their body. To help support the weight of their tails, dinosaurs had a latticework of tendons running along their backbone. Tendons usually don't fossilize because they are soft tissue, but dinosaurs' specialized backbone tendons were, in life, ossified, or partially turned into bone. These two sandstone slabs contain part of the remains of a duck-billed dinosaur. The flat, rib-like bones are part of the backbone called neural spines, and the long, rod-like structures are the ossified tendons. That's just really cool, isn't it?
Well, it is really cool. Like we mentioned with Leonardo, the mummified dinosaur, they can be preserved. It's rare, but it can happen.
And as we see, it did happen. They had an entire display on Egg Mountain because I think geographically this is the closest museum to Egg Mountain. And they have this Maiasaura is what was found primarily at Egg Mountain, and they had this femur and teeth and some dinosaur eggshell from a Troodon eggshell that was found at Egg Mountain, and an unknown bumpy dinosaur eggshell from Egg Mountain, and then a few others from Dutton, Montana, and a couple from Argentina.
They did have to get their avian dinosaur and non-avian dinosaur comment in. Dinosaurs turned into birds, so they say.
According to the evolutionists, but we know that
is not true, but
it's just nonsense is what it is. And here is a Troodon egg clutch. The real one is more than likely at the Museum of the Rockies, where we will be going in the next nugget. But you can see the photograph of when they found it out there. Egg Mountain, if you drive about 12 miles west of Choteau, you will eventually pass a seemingly insignificant hill on the side of the road. This tiny hill has the highest concentration of dinosaur eggs ever found in the world. So many eggs and nests have been discovered there that it has been given the larger-than-life name, Egg Mountain.
And it was awesome to go there.
We couldn't really see anything, as we mentioned, just to be in the vicinity.
Just to be standing in the spot that's near it is amazing.
And then they had this Maiasaura hatchling leg bone. Oh, isn't he cute? And some plant fossils. And I thought this was kind of funny. Montana beachfront property. Of course, they always have to have their inland sea story, don't they?
Shallow ocean, inland sea.
This story tells of 75 million years ago. The seaway encroached active volcanoes and the growing Rocky Mountains. Evidence of this beachfront can be seen in the rocks around Choteau. It's evidence of Noah's flood. They know it took water to bury these things, and they're mentioning volcanoes, which we know it was the fountains of the Great Deep broke up too.
That's exactly right.
How about this? For sale, Cozy Cretaceous Cabana. Enjoy warm, arid, subtropical paradise, close to prime nesting grounds for carnivores and herbivores. Only minutes from Egg Mountain. Easy access to migration routes. Great views of volcanoes. That's cute, isn't it?
It is.
I love the sense of humor. Next stop, the Museum of the Rockies, and this is a great place to go to and a great place for us to wrap up our Montana Dinosaur Trail tour. Thank you.